In our last lecture, we had created a blank pivot table up to this stage. In this lecture, I will work with the following 4 topics: how you can add data fields to areas section, how you can add layers to a pivot table, how you can rearrange a pivot table, and how you can create a filter to the pivot table report. So here is our list of fields, and I am going to add some fields to the areas section. Areas section has 4 zones: filters, columns, rows, and values. Most of the people stumble upon on a basic problem. They don't know which fields to add to which area. Let me guide you solve this basic problem. Ask yourself 2 questions. Question number 1 is, what are you going to measure? And question number 2 is, how do you want to see it? The answer to the first question tells you which fields in your data source you need to work with, and the answer to the second question tells you where to place the fields. Say for your first pivot table report you want to measure the sales by region. This answer to the first question tells you that you are going to work with sales amount data field and region data field. Now ask the second question, how do you want to see the report? Say your answer is, I want regions to go down the left side of the report and the sales amount to be calculated next to each region. To achieve this report, I add the region data field to the rows area and the sales amount data field to the values area. You get region names going down the left side of the report, and the total sales is showing for each region on the right side of the report. You can add data fields to areas in more than one way. You have seen how I have dragged the data fields to the areas section. That is one way. Or you can right click on the data field. In the drop down, you will find total 6 options. First 4 are areas name, and the last 2 are add as slicer and add as timeline. We shall work with these 2 options later. There is other option, just click on a data field. I click on state or province data field. State or province data field is automatically added to the rows area. Excel will not always add data field automatically to the rows area. It depends on the data field. I deselect it. So you have created your first pivot table report. Many congratulations. Now I will show you how you can add a new layer to your report. Adding a new layer means adding a new data field to this pivot table report. Now say I want to see sales data also according to product category for every region. I just select the checkbox of product category. Automatically it is added to the rows area. So now you find sales amount for every region and also according to product category. This is the total sales in Canada region, and this is total sales in Canada region but for product category bar equipment. So within seconds you can add or delete a new layer to a pivot table report. This is really awesome. Now let's discuss how you can rearrange a pivot table. Say your manager is not happy with this report. He wants to see product categories across the top of the pivot table report. What you have to do is just drag this product category data field from the rows area to the columns area. You see the pivot table report has changed dramatically. Now it is showing sales amount of different product categories in different regions. For example, this first cell is showing the total sales of bar equipment product category in Canada region. Second cell is showing the total sales of bar equipment product category in Midwest region, and so on. And first grand total values shows the total sales of bar equipment product category in all the regions. Let me show you another arrangement of pivot table. I drag down the product category data field to its old place. This pivot table report shows the sales in different regions but breaks down the regional sales in different product categories. Now set this product category data field above the region data field. You see the change in the pivot table report. Now the pivot table report is showing the total sales in different product category but breaks down the sales in different regions. Total sale of bar equipment product category is here and total sale of bar equipment product category in Canada region is here. Now there is another way you can rearrange a pivot table report. That is directly in the pivot table report grid. I mean, you can change the pivot table report directly here. To do that, you have to change some settings. Right click anywhere on the pivot table and choose pivot table options from the drop down. Pivot table options dialog box appears and in the display tab, select this option, classic pivot table layout, and then click OK. Some changes occur in the orientation of the pivot table report. Bar equipment total is showing here. Before activating classic pivot table layout, bar equipment totals was showing here. Now I want to show the regions across the top of the pivot table report. You can do that easily by just dragging region from rows area to columns area. But this time I will make the changes on the report directly. Just move your mouse pointer over the region column. A down arrow appears. Now drag the region. When you are dragging the region, two icon appears. The lower one shows a blue line across the top of the icon. So region is going to set itself across the top of the report. I release the mouse pointer and region values are set across the top of the report. Now I want to get back region to its old location. I again hover my mouse pointer over the region. A down arrow appears as before. I drag and take my mouse pointer on the left side of the report. This time you see a blue bar appears on the left side of the icon. So region is going to set itself on the left side of the report. I release the mouse and region is back to its old location. In this process, you can also directly drag a data field from here to here. I add state or province to this report. The report does not seem meaningful, so I delete it. As a reference, I have showed this technique. The technique of changing pivot table report on its grid. But practically, I don't suggest you to use this method. Okay, now I will show you how you can add a filter to a pivot table report. When classic pivot table layout is active, you can add a data field here to work it as a filter. I add state or province data field to this area, or you can drag a data field to this filters area to work it as a filter of the pivot table report. State or province is now working as a filter to this pivot table report. By default, all values are selected, but you can see the report for a specific state. I select AL and click OK. Now the report is showing only the Alabama state's sales data. You can select multiple items also. Select this option, select multiple items, and I select also air and click OK. Now the report is showing sales data for Alabama and Arkansas states. So this is the way of creating a basic Excel pivot table.